All right, everyone. Hi, it's Carlo, and I want to introduce here a dear friend from LinkedIn named Antonella Ballatore. I believe I pronounced that correctly.
Correctly. Very well said.
All right, awesome. So, tell me, how long have you been in what could be called recruiting and human resources? How long have you been in this profession?
So basically, in a nutshell, as you saw from my profile, you saw that I was an attorney prior, right? So what happened was, is at one point I had a good friend of mine that basically reached out to me and said, "You know what? I need help." I said, "Really? Okay." I said, "But my background is in law. Do you think I can do this?" She says, "Oh, definitely you can. You have the know-how, the skills, and you also have that sixth sense that you'll be able to be the intermediate between a candidate and a client." So roughly, to answer your question, I've been in it now for the past 4 years and 2 years on my own.
Wow. Okay. And so what now you're independent, but how long would you say you've been working for others, and then how long have you been independent now?
Okay, so let me explain to you. I've always been a consultant. I've never been on a payroll. I was always billing as a consultant, which meant that I had the flexibility to do more than one client if I wanted to. For about a year, I was with Exemius Personnel, very lovely lady. Her name is
Yeah,
Melanie Diot, who I respect
I know her.
tremendously. You know her? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what?
Shout out to Melanie.
Pardon me? I'm sorry?
We'll give a shout out to
Yes,
Melanie.
let's say hi to her. And you know what? It was thanks to her that I basically started in this industry. I stayed with her about roughly about a year. And then I had somebody, her name is Magali Derouin from Chassé Croisé, who asked me if I wanted to help her.
Mhm.
Again, I always remained a consultant. So I consulted with Magali for about, I'd say, a good year and a half for Chassé Croisé.
Mhm.
My mandates varied, from financial to human resources to, as you saw, my mandates are quite a variety. Then at one point, I said to myself, well, you know what? I've always been one that's been completely on my own. I had my private practice for God knows, I think about 10 years. I said, you know what? Let's do the leap. I said to myself, am I making the right decision? Because obviously, when you're on your own, you're on your own. Because when you're a consultant to these
Yep.
companies, they're the clients, right? They have the clients, and they basically give you the mandate, and you share on a certain commission basis, right? But when you're on your own, you got to go find the clients, and you have to also, from A to Z, take them through everything. So when I saw that I had a certain, je ne sais quoi, ease in finding the candidates, I said, listen, if I can find the candidates, I definitely can find the clients. So that's how, as of this, I would say, as of February 2024, I decided to do the leap. Rest assured, yes, yes, hey, hey, but rest assured, it was not at the beginning. You're always very cautious. Am I right? Am I making the right choice? Am I leaving behind something that is security, right? Because they have clients for
Mhm.
years. Because don't forget, both of these people have been in the industry for more than 20, 25 years. So their
Yeah.
client base is extremely much more than what I can have, right? But as you see, it's been quite a ride, and I enjoy the
Mhm.
challenge, which I will continue doing from now on.
So I keep seeing from when you post online about different ongoing hiring mandates that you have, that you really do have a vast kind of clientele. So right now, I think recently it was a pharmacist.
Correct.
A pharmacist. I've seen you do other areas. I remember when we first met by the phone, it was for finance. So is there something that fascinates you more than others in terms of this field of these
You know what? You
chasse-tête?
made, you know what? You opened a little parenthèse. I don't know if you remember. I had basically reached out to you for one of my client, well, one of Chassé Croisé's clients to try to get you in, if you
Yep.
remember, and that's how we first started. So,
Yeah.
to answer your question, is there a field that I'm more comfortable in? You know what? I've noticed that I can just recruit just about anything. Given a great job description, I have the task, know
Hmm.
how, and I don't know if it's in me or this is how it is. I see that I have the same facility to recruit a pharmacist like I have a software developer. And by all means, I have no engineering background. So when you have such a complex role, like you saw for Vita detection, I had to fill a software developer. I had to fill a mechanical engineer. I mean, I
Wow.
but you know what it is? If you apply yourself, if you look at the criterias, and with our LinkedIn recruiter system, we narrow down the search. Well, we go get those candidates are number one A type, candidates. And then, we work with the
Hmm.
job description, we work with, pushing further. And I'll explain to you a little bit, maybe if you want to know how I operate. And
Yeah.
you get the candidate, but it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. That I must say. Out of 1,000 candidates that you could reach, maybe you're lucky if five answer back. So you really have to know
Yeah.
who to basically
Do you
recruit.
So it's just, no, that's actually pretty interesting to know because I think we often like to believe that it's kind of the employer has the hirer has the upper hand and more people are going to be going toward that person, but no, is it competitive right now in terms of trying to attract the right
Well,
talent?
let me explain to you one thing. Most of the people that I reach out to are people that are already within companies that had no idea that there were other opportunities or were not even contemplating changing. So that's where my skills as an attorney and as a negotiator comes into play because I have to present to them something that they don't have right now. And now that could be more
Hmm.
interesting if you think about the financial aspect of it. What can my client offer to them that your present employer can't? Is it a better salary? Is it better financial package in a sense of like profit sharing? Is there a RSP plan? So that's where it boils down to. All the candidates don't always want to move because they're in a zone where they're comfortable. So, and some of them tell me, oh my God, I wasn't even contemplating making a move. But you know what? You arose a curiosity in me. Well, send me the job description. They send me their CV, and
Hmm.
then we continue the conversation from there. So I don't know if that answers your question. Not most of them aren't actively looking for positions. So,
Yeah.
so the employer doesn't really have that much. How shall I say it? If they post on LinkedIn, most of them won't even answer them because they're not even actively looking as we speak. It's I that
Hmm.
basically goes to them and sparkles a little sense of, wow, what does this woman have to offer us? So that's how it is.
Oh, pretty interesting. And do you find right now? I mean, you and I, we're very LinkedIn centric. Let's just say,
Yeah.
like I post 99% of my content on LinkedIn, and I find I see your post as well. Do you use as a recruiter? Do you use alternative spaces like let's say Indeed or Glassdoor, or other forms of social media to look for to
To
hire?
be honest with you, it's really Indeed. It's sorry, it's really LinkedIn. It's really LinkedIn because
LinkedIn.
my
Mhm.
LinkedIn recruiter system is comes with LinkedIn. Do you follow? So for me, it's like my messages are inbox all of there because I use Sales Navigator. There's, as you know, there's many different other tools that can be used.
Yeah.
Some just come to me and say, you know what? Why aren't you using Recruiter Lite? I already tried Recruiter Lite. That's not the one for me because you also have to know what is
Hmm.
best for you. For my personal experience now, I would say that LinkedIn Sales Navigator is the one that I love using because it allows me to reach out to candidates as well as reach out to potential clients. Because
Okay.
99% of my clients come from LinkedIn. As I'm poaching them, I'm
And
reaching out to them.
so from your area of hiring, so let's say you're a headhunter of sorts. You what is your how do people do you reach out to people? You
Correct.
reach out to me, but how do you prefer that people reach out to you when they ask about a position? Do they go into the comment section and say, "Hey, I'm interested. Can I DM you?" Or do they cold DM you directly? Do they add you? And then
I,
with how do you get reached out, or how do you prefer that people reach out to you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The way it's happening, I'll give you an example of pharmacists, okay? We'll go through the clients and then we'll go through the aspect of the candidates. When it comes to clients, most of them it's our referral basis. Like this last week, I had two pharmacists that came up to me and said, you know what? Your ex client, well, my former client that I basically placed a position for, it referred you. So they referred, so they write right away on my inbox, hello, this is so and so. I was referred by so and so.
Mhm.
I need your help. So that's one aspect. When it comes to the candidates, obviously I post my positions, right, that I need to recruit for. So a lot of them will either see the post and write to me directly on comments, but most of them are through directly the in mail. the email. They'll reach out to me and say, you know what,
Okay, wow.
I saw this posting, I'm interested. But I would say, Carlo, 99% of the people that are basically I've placed, if not 100%, are the ones that I've reached out to when it comes to candidates. It's because
Yeah.
I have to go looking at the profiles. I have to match the profiles with the skills that my clients want. So it's really like it's a work in itself. You know, it's like a detective. You got to go
Mhm.
for all the little, what does my client need?
Do you find that there is something in a profile that you say, okay, wow, that impressed me? And do you, what would you say people should do in order to impress a person like
Okay,
yourself?
so hold on a second. That's my. So basically, one thing that I've noticed also with my clients, and this is something that there's two sides to this. You know how some people stay in jobs only 1 year and then keep on going from 1 year to 1 year to 1 year, always changing employers? Well, that could be good and that could be, there's two sides to it. So most of when I look at a
Hmm.
profile, I look at longevity. I look at how long that person stayed within that
Okay.
company. Also, one thing that I also look for is like when I write a message to somebody and we're supposed to have a scheduled appointment to speak, whether it's to get their CV, the time they take to respond to me, I say, well, that's the way they're going to behave with my clients. So my motto is
Hmm.
I will not send any one of the candidates to my clients that I wouldn't want to hire for myself. Because I find that the promptness, the politeness, all of that shows the traits of a person. A CV could be so well made, but it's in reality, it's when you speak to the person, the interactions with that person, the way they respond back to you. That's how you can tell when a candidate is an A candidate, as opposed to somebody that you do not want to send to your clients. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that does. That really does. And you mentioned that yes, there are nuances to the answer. You know,
Of
does this
course,
person change every year, or has this person been in for 75 years in the same
correct.
position? You know, there's a lot of people who go as, I guess, project managers for a certain given time frame, and then they go on to another. You know, so understood. Do you believe that safety, like, okay, so you brought up something about, I think, people who never were never thinking about
Correct.
changing employment. You know, they're there. My 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 mentality is, you know, my idea is, well, oftentimes people just feel safe and they don't need to change.
Mhm.
Is that something that can hurt them? Do you feel that there is actually something to benefit from looking
Well,
elsewhere? And do you think that finding another opportunity is really a risk? Like saying, okay, I'm going to go find another employer. Is it really, is it really that bad?
I
You
understand.
know,
I understand.
am I going to die poor?
I understand your question because you're basically saying, here I am. I've been 10 years with this company A. I know the philosophy. I know that I'm doing everything correctly. I have a safe job. Where am I going to? Right? That's what you're saying. Well, that's where I think it's important. Not only I think it is very important that when a person decides to change careers, we have to understand why they want to make the leap from A to B. Is it for career advancement? Is it for better money? Because
Mhm.
you see, there's so many sides to this. Like I've spoken to candidates over the years, and money can't only be the only factor. Because if you're looking for more money, you might not want to work for a company that's not, like how shall I say it? It's so this question that you're asking me is like, you got to give me 2 seconds. I want to answer it properly. Yes,
That's fine.
yes, they have to take the leap, but they have to know where they're going. They have to do their homework. In other words, that's what I would suggest to candidates that are safe. Okay, you want to take the leap, but you got to take it for something that's going to give you more aspiration, more ambition. It's got to bring something more than just more money to you. Because then at the end of the day, you're
Mhm.
going to get bored. So if you're used to a certain job that has A, B, C as a task, and you're offered, I don't know, $100,000, and you're going to go to another company that has A, B, C, and it's giving you 120, you're going to get bored at one point. You're going to leave that company. But if that the second company gives you A, B, C plus D plus potential of growth, well, then you've got more to and more challenge to yourself. And like I said, you have to investigate where you're going. You have to have your first interview, your second
Mhm.
interview with the person, but also you have to feel connected with where you're going to work. You have to feel, you know what, this is somewhere that I want to work for. This is a mentality, a work environment that I believe that I have the same beliefs as. Do you follow? It's like you really have to do
Yeah,
your
yeah.
research. And I think it's important. Most of my candidates do that research. They ask me for the website. They ask me how long my clients have been around. They ask me, what can your client offer me aside from what I have at the company that I have? You know, and don't forget, when
Hmm.
you're dealing with somebody, a VP of finance, that you're going to place somebody that is very settled within a company to another company, you got to make sure that that person gets what is promised. And that is one thing I shall say. Remember when I said that we were talking about the question when people change jobs? You have to also listen to why they change job, because sometimes people promise you the world but they don't deliver. So you have to expose that to your client. Say, you know what? I know this person moved from A to B to C within the last 3 years, but they were promised a certain salary. They were promised certain tasks. They don't coincide with what they were promised. So this is the reason why they're leaving. Do you follow? So that's why you have to really analyze
Hmm.
everything and not be so quick to judge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And do you what would you suggest for employers or future employers that they should do in order to be more both one more attractive to new hires, and two, people looking for new work, and two, how can they what do they need to do, or what would you say is the best thing they should do in order to retain that
Okay,
talent?
so now this is a question that, oh my God, this is a little catch 22, but I'm going to answer it. So first and foremost, in the last 4 years that I've recruited, uh, I don't know if you know how it works. When we place a candidate, we have a replacement warranty of 3 months. That means that if the person, for whatever reason, does not like the position, does not fit with the profile that my client was looking for, we as recruiters, and this is everybody, I think, has the same policy, be it 3 months or 6 months, we have to replace at
Hmm.
our own fee. Okay. So you
Yeah.
must understand within that 3 month period, the employer really gets to see who you're sending. Now, for the employer to attract talent, to keep talent, it's very simple. You promised a job description, you promised the working conditions, make sure that you deliver. Because if you're
Hmm.
telling your VP of finance, okay, you're coming in to do this, this is the profit sharing you're going to get. These are your tasks. In the second year, you'll be doing this. Make sure you deliver. Because no one wants to say within a company when there's a breach of trust. And that is, I think, the major thing, breach of trust. The moment that the trust is broken, they don't want to stay anymore within a company.
Understood. Wow. And I so from my end as a financial advisor, I use software to help illustrate where a person is in their financial
Hmm.
life, and where they're going at the current rate, and what they can do in order to improve that situation. So let's say, like, when I do, let's say, I'm working on financial planning for someone, and what we often do is we know that inflation is around 2.2%. Well,
Correct.
with exceptions.
Exceptions, yes.
Exceptions. And oftentimes it seems that on average, people are paid about 1% above inflation for,
Correct.
staying in the
Correct.
same position over the course of years, right? But what I find is that when someone is, let's say, in a job and it's safe, they perceive safety, it often just makes life in the long run hard, because they're not being compensated
Correct.
well enough.
Correct.
Maybe they don't have an RRSP matching, etc. So oftentimes, because the big thing, we all know that in the media, we're like, oh, save $5 a day and you'll retire millionaire or something,
Not, that
right?
doesn't happen.
But a person but a person working in McDonald's
Exactly.
is always gonna be stuck, right? Like, a person working in a low-paying job is always gonna be stuck. So oftentimes I tell people, in reality, you can only cut so much. You gotta start thinking about making more money.
100%.
And so what I often do in the planning process is, like, I mean, it's not a very scientific process, but what I'll do is I'll look for jobs that that person is currently in, and I'll see what other people are offering
True.
and kind of
Mm,
average it, and then say, "Hey, look, that's 5 5K more per year they're paying out. Here's what that would look like." And
true.
I can illustrate it in software and show them what it looks like over the rest of their
Mhm,
lifetime until
mhm.
retirement, and beyond. And I find that people oftentimes then realize that this perceived safety was actually, if anything, holding them back
True.
from their life. So that's when I will typically go and say, "Hey, look, this is an option. Here's what it could look like. you should start looking for new, for a new career
Correct.
or a new,
Correct.
a new employer, or negotiate with your current employer. I've had people who just, they were kind of like, well, I work hard enough. They should notice me. They'll give me a promotion
100%.
and they'll give me a raise. And it's
100%.
like, no, you have to ask.
But you know what though? You open
And I was like, no, you have to
But
ask.
you know what though? You opened a topic that's very interesting because it's happened to me in the past. That's one thing that as recruiters, we also have to be careful because when our clients give some candidates or give a candidate a job offer, most of them sometimes will turn around, go to the employer and say, you know what, I got this job offer. What can you do to not me? And if the person
I
is a
know.
valuable asset to the company, the person's not going to leave. And then I get the, I'm sorry, Antonella, but you know what? I'm turning down the job offer because I'm staying where I am. So you know what? You got to be careful with that. A lot of people
Hmm.
might use that. You see, like to play it safe with their present employers and try to negotiate better quality of better conditions, I should say, in their employment, be it more better salary, RSP match, or whatever the company can offer based on the offer that my client would potentially give them. So you see that there's that
Hmm.
side also to an offer.
Which is why it's important not to both breach trust, not just with a new employer, but also with your potential hirer,
Correct.
your recruiter. And so it would be good that that person instead should just be reaching out, maybe having a chat with you and saying, hey, what would be a competitive, would it be good if they reach out to you, say, what would be a competitive compensation for a person of my experience and expertise,
Correct.
instead of getting that job
But
offer, right? Instead of getting that
but
formal job offer and
Paulo,
then
you
they,
must understand that happens with the less mature candidates, the younger generation. Somebody that is in their 40s or
yeah.
50s will know that that's not. But the young generation sometimes they just don't understand, and so they say, well, you know what? They think that, like, in other words, they're bypassing my client to go back to their clients. But what they don't realize is that
Hmm.
they burn their bridges with the recruiters afterwards. You follow? Because
Hmm.
there's no credibility.
Yeah.
There's no credibility between myself and that candidate anymore. Because I mean, if they can do it to me, they'll do it to anybody. So I think you have I think the model of this, and I think you will understand also being in the financial industry, is just be upfront, and as straightforward as possible, and things will always work out when you're upfront and very
Hmm.
like, what are your expectations? What can the client give to me? This is what I'm making. Do you think my offer where I am right now? Do you think that my pay where I am now right now is an equitable one? And then we work from there. Do you follow?
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. So first, reach out to you, and instead of just simply say, "Oh, I want to go for this job," and then you're going to go and turn around and try to negotiate a higher compensation.
Because at the end of the day, you're wasting my time, my client's time, because it takes time to draft a contract. It takes time, like to get all the reference work, everything done. And the end of the day, it's not a win-win situation. Mind you, there's always candidates. It's not a problem. We'll fill the roles. It's just that you delayed everybody's process of a month. And when a company urgently needs somebody, I don't think it's fair to that company either. Do you follow? I think the best policy is be straightforward.
Oh,
Oh, you just
so a big buzzword right now is, yes, I know it's artificial
diligence.
intelligence, but the other one is work from home.
Yes.
So how has this been a an obstacle between you, your client, and the candidate? Has that been something that you found
Well,
problematic?
we all know through COVID that was the only thing, right? COVID made us develop this work from home, right? So a lot of people got accustomed to working from home. Obviously, depending on the position, the candidate also has to be a little bit more flexible. If you have, for instance, a pharmacist position, you can't work from home. So, it all depends on what you're recruiting for, right? So obviously, if you have a position as a quality control specialist, well, you've got to be on site, right? You got to do your due diligence, and you have to be there.
Mhm.
So originally, it was a challenge. I will
Absolutely.
basically tell you that when I started recruiting, maybe about a year and a half ago, when we were like post COVID, it was hard to get people to go back into the office. People were still scared, the myth, COVID. So we had a bit of a challenge. Now I don't have that problem anymore. On the contrary, people are telling me I'd rather go into the office. I want to socialize. I want to go back into that work environment.
Mhm.
So if to rephrase that, summarize that, yes, originally it was a challenge post COVID, but not today, not anymore. And also depending on the role.
Okay. Now, you mentioned a very important word there, which is socialize.
Yes,
I think it's like a very underappreciated aspect of going to the office. And I mean, I'm all for trying to maybe go and not so much minimize, but just don't go. It's not maybe it's not great for everyone to go to the office every single
sure,
day, day in and day out. But I think people still should go to the office from a couple times a week at the very least to have that socialization
100%.
to both embed themselves with their team, with their employer, and also that's I feel like, and this is very unappreciated by most. Or by many, is that that's actually what gets us promoted. That's actually what helps us
100%.
grow.
I totally agree with you because also don't forget, it's not only the socialization. If you're working in a team within a team, there's teamwork, there's team spirit. So your team needs you. So, you can't just be at home and, your team's over there and you're at here and they're there. So how do you basically, get things going? So everything is within context, if you agree with me. But yes, socialization, bringing to aspiration of obviously promotion and showing also your dedication to your employer because your employer wants to see the person like, oh, who's Mr. David? I don't know, Mr. David C. Oh, he's on my payroll, but I don't know him. I've never seen him one day
Mhm.
here. So how does that Mr. AC hope to get a promotion? You got to go to the office. You have to know who you're working
Mhm.
for, be part of your team, express your values, your concerns. What can I do to better the situation? So that's in the aspect that I meant the socialization with the aspiration of moving forward within the company.
Interview. I think you really put out there a lot of valuable information for followers, for viewers, and I wanted to give you a chance to, if you have something you want to plug, or where can where do people find you?
Very
How do you feel? Should they reach out to you?
As you can see, I'm a very approachable person. So you know what the best is, whether they need me for whether it's a candidate that needs, and it happens a lot of times that a candidate reaches out to me either by referral, they see my posts, I'm looking for this position.
Hmm.
Here's my CV. I always take the time to call everyone, even though I might not have a position for them right now. That is my motto.
Hmm.
It's be precise, be punctual, be persuasive, and let that person understand, what, I don't have a need right now, but I might have a need for you in the future. When it comes to future clients, I think the best, they have my LinkedIn profile. They can reach out to me. There's my email. I'm a very reachable person. Uh, and sometimes people say, my God, are you always on your phone? You answer emails right away because whatever is that at that moment is an important crisis. That's what takes priority. Do you follow? So I'm very reachable, whether through LinkedIn, whether through my email. I answer all the time.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Antonella. It's been very much a pleasure talking to you,
Same here.
getting your insights. And I think everyone watching this will benefit from it in some way and have a better understanding of, well, their career, where can that go? And if so, how to go about it
I
correctly,
hope
which
so.
is very
I
important.
hope I'm able to at least, if anything, have enlightened some people on the process.
Well, definitely me. So, with that, thanks a lot, Antonella, and I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.